I believe in home ownership. I believe in buying houses, not just to live, but also as an investment. It's what started Capstone. It's what got us on the trajectory of helping others with managing properties and building wealth through real estate. Uh, what's happened and what we've seen in the last couple of months, we've seen interest rates from a mortgage side go up all of the time, all the while we expected that they'd be going down. When the Fed decided to lower interest rates, we thought that that was going to be a really good sign for what's happening in the market. And unfortunately, we're seeing the opposite right now. For the last couple of months, interest rates have gone up, and we're sitting at from 30 days ago, we're sitting at a more than a half a point higher than we were just a half a month or just a month ago. So what it's doing is keeping people on the sidelines, and we're seeing again a continued increase in listings hit the market. We're seeing buyer demand decreasing, and it's because the economy looks like it's relatively stable, and from the indicators that are being put out there, people feel pretty optimistic with what's happening and how inflation has come down, and yet we somehow hit that soft landing that they were expecting, that the Fed was hoping to achieve. That's awesome. However, for the real estate market, it really just brings into those questions. And I think a lot of times when we're hoping that the real estate market is going to work with our plans, it gives us it gives us something else to think about, right? And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it's often that we'll talk to an owner or a new owner, a new client, and talk through what their goals are, what their plans are. And oftentimes people's plans weren't to hold their property to begin with. And when we first got started in property management, a lot of our original clients were not active investors that were hoping to own property and keep them for a long time. We've grown into that, but most of our clients were people with 1 and 2 properties, right? Just doing what we could to keep that property from going under, right? In the late 2000s, it was, hey, I don't want to give this property back to the bank. I want to do what I can to keep it and manage through it. And that was kind of the start. So now we're seeing our typical client is more so someone that is, as we've graduated, so has our typical owner, somebody with maybe multiple properties, someone with more of a vision for what that could look like. The key is to making sure that what we've learned from the past and what we've learned in the past, we've had such shifts in what the market has done and told us. And I could look at every 2 years for the last 15 and see different type of market, right? We had, of course, the Great Recession, right? We had a shift in the market when that happened, and a lot of foreclosures and short sales. And we saw the ramp up after that, and buyers slowly getting back into it and feeling confident with it because so many people were jaded and beat up from what happened when the market collapsed. Now we're seeing, coming out of COVID, something similar, whereas COVID, though, was a peak. It was a high. It was people going, I've got to get into a house. I need a place to live. Markets started stabilizing. Interest rates went higher. Demand goes lower. Now we're in this next stage, and it's like there's no timing the market, right? There's no saying this is the perfect thing to do in this particular market. So recognizing, though, when we're making these decisions as to what does the market tell us about what we can do with our property in this market. Not what could we have done 6 months ago, what could we have done 3 years ago. Entirely different, because as we keep trending these numbers, as we keep trending what's happening with the market moving forward, we've really got to be paying attention to this stuff right now, like weekly. It's like I could look at interest rates last week and go, oh, shoot. Last week, interest rates were down for a minute. Oh, now they're up again. Oh, gosh. If we were planning on timing that market when it comes to putting a house on the market for sale, that's totally different. Now, if we're looking at potential buyers for your houses, if you're looking for an exit and you want to exit out of the properties that you have, maybe it's in 5 years, maybe it's in 15 years, who knows? Maybe you're never going to sell, right? That's my plan. I want to hold these things forever. And, you know, if my kids aren't watching, I want them to be able to, you know, take this over and handle it. Or I don't know what that looks like. I haven't even thought that far ahead. But if I'm thinking of what my exit looks like, there could be so many variables depending on what the market looks like at any given time. If I have a timeline and I've got to say, this is what I need to do by X date, then I really got to be thinking about it now to see what is the best, most opportune time for any sort of like market shifts or characteristics that I need to be paying attention to so that I could jump right when I think I need to, as early on in that process as I need to. Because who knows what it's going to look like in 2 years. If you would have asked me 3 months ago when the Fed drops their rates, would I have expected rates to be higher than they were 60 days ago? I would have said, no way, that would be crazy. That would be something that we wouldn't know what that market would look like, as we don't, right? It's like, oh my gosh. But in this market, as owners feel the pinch, as tenants feel the pressure of, you know, rents in the Phoenix area still pretty high compared to what they can generally afford, we're filling rental properties. We definitely are doing that. October of 2024 is stronger than it was October of 2023 when it comes to filling properties. However, it's like, what's that next wave going to look like? What does first part of next year look like? And if you do have questions about either acquiring more properties, or you want to sell properties and liquidate your portfolio, maybe 1031 it into another market, what does the market look like right here in order for you to do that? If you're asking me, if you've got a property that's coming up and vacant, ask yourself that question before you sign and say, I will renew that tenant for the next year. Because let me tell you, when it comes to selling a property in this market, you want as many nets out there as we can. One of the biggest nets is the retail net. Let me clean your property up. Let me put it on the retail market. Let me make sure I can get you as much as we can in the shortest amount of time possible. And if there's a tenant limit in there, guess what? I can't do that, right? We can't get condition reports as fast. We can't get people in as fast. So that's something to think about before we re-sign with that tenant. That's a question that we ask you beforehand, 60 or 90 days beforehand. And that's a big question. If there's even the slightest chance of you thinking that there's an opportunity for you to, instead of renewing with that tenant, selling the property, call me. Let's set up a time. Let's talk through that so that by the time you do say, yes, I'm willing to move forward with that tenant, we've had that conversation and we mapped out that plan and you know what that tenant looks like for the next year or two moving forward. Thanks for watching. I know this was kind of like a PSA instead of general information and this positive stuff that I'm bringing or trying to every week. But in this market right now, I just want to make sure that we're keeping it transparent too. Because where I see people making mistakes is just they're making mistakes in assuming that this market is something that it's not. Assuming that this market's going to provide something that it can't. Because we're thinking about a market that was a year ago or 2 years ago. Or, hey, if you bought a property at the wrong time, maybe 2 years ago when the market was really, really, really hot, you might be underwater. So if you've got to sell a property and you bought it then, you gotta wait for that next pass, right? And that's just something that we have to think about when offloading or reselling or re-renting these properties. Thanks for watching. Next week I'll try to keep it more positive. See ya.